Hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kevin Loy, and I recently did a bad thing. Well, okay, it wasn't recent, and I don't think it was particularly bad, but after nearly 10 years of being freely available on YouTube, I was informed this morning that the video for my song Succubus has been age restricted. The burning question, of course, is why did this happen? Well, I'm not entirely sure. Putting aside my belief that someone specifically sought to flag the video as a way of attacking me, especially since its views weren't exactly eating up YouTube's bandwidth, I am failing to fully fathom YouTube's reasoning. Per the initial email I received, Succubus was flagged due to their community guidelines. So I naturally appealed the decision, particularly since the reasoning they gave was a generic blurb about said guidelines. A couple of hours later, they responded to reaffirm their decision, finally adding additional context and saying, quote, certain types of adult sexual content, such as nudity, sexual acts, sexual audio or sounds, including explicit language or narratives, and excessive profanity or lewd language, may be age-restricted if it's not appropriate for all audiences. End quote. Now, ignoring that the last clause of that blurb pretty much undermines everything which preceded it, I'd like to break each of these down from my perspective. First, nudity was not shown at any point in the video. Sexual acts were also not shown at any point in the video. One could argue that a sexual act was implied, but I failed to see how said portrayal was more graphic than, say, Lil Nas X being given a tongue bath in the video for Montero before doing a pole dance into hell in order to give Satan a lap dance and a tongue bath. If you want to call that an outlier, we could instead look at the act portrayed in Madonna's 30-year-old video for Take a Bow, where a montage involving stabbing a bull with a sword before cutting to this particular shot and pose of a matador is very obviously meant to portray a very specific sexual activity in a much more frank fashion than anything I filmed. Yet this is free to be seen by all. I guess I should also point out in passing that Madonna, in a fashion not uncommon in her other videos of the era, also took a moment to simulate masturbation, but since there's nothing like that in Succubus, I'll move on. Sexual audio or sounds do occur as part of the song itself, but frankly, there are decades of such occurrences in popular works at this point, ranging from groups like the Beach Boys, where Dennis Wilson really did have sex with a woman on tape for this particular song, or Aphrodite's Child, who hired Irene Papas to simulate coitus for a track where the only accompaniment was basic drum usage, or maybe even more standard fare like Marvin Gaye, using standard moaning in You Sure Loved a Ball. And again, I don't see any of these being censored for such content, including works by Madonna, which again utilize both sexual imagery and sexual audio. Granted, I'm also not as popular as Madonna is even at this late stage in her life, so let's move on again. Finally, insofar as excessive profanity or lewd language goes, there's literally none to be found in either the video or audio of Succubus. Perhaps the closest thing one can cite to it, in my view, is the woman near the end saying, quote, I'm coming, end quote, but I hardly see how that brief instance compares to something like, say, to pull a random example, K7's song, Come Baby Come, wherein K7 can constantly be heard imploring the object of his desire to, quote, come, end quote. And I'm pretty certain he doesn't just mean for her to come by for a quick chat, especially not with imagery like this being employed. But, of course, in the interest of being a good little content creator, I wanted to let you know that I think being able to experience my art, even if YouTube doesn't consider it as such, should be allowed to anyone with the means to do so. So, in the interest of making a version of the Succubus video which shouldn't violate YouTube's vaguely defined and even more vaguely applied community guidelines, I give you Succubus, a family-friendly foray. by Kevin Loy. Scene 1. Some random outdoor location.
Hi.
Go away, loser!
I think you're pretty.
I think you're pretty annoying.
Can I date you?
I'm a succubus! If you don't leave, I'll steal your soul!
Oh boy, this means we're dating, right?
Well, one soul is as good as another, I guess.
Scene 2. Some random restaurant.
Oh boy, I've never dated someone before. What do I do?
Go outside and play in traffic.
You're funny. Can I touch your boob?
That depends. Can I steal your soul?
Wow, I get to touch a boob without paying money.
Scene 3. A random room. Somewhere.
Wait! I said you could touch my boob, not chain me up!
Sorry, but my mail order wife ran off to a different country when I tried touching hers.
Now the tables are turned!
Yippee! I love being chained up. Just so you know, my safe word is ocelot.
Do you have a safe... Oh, never mind.
You know, that's actually a really good question. But one time I used it, my mail order wife just took my wallet and left.
There's literally no way I can win, is there? Whether I steal your soul or let you touch my boob, you'll still be happy.
Well, maybe if it made me listen to some Kevin Loy crap.
My word! And run afoul of YouTube's community guidelines? I'd never do that.
Censorship rules. Unless, you know, it happens to a multi-millionaire who it would make YouTube look bad to censor.
Walls!
And with this shared realization that everyone on YouTube is equal, albeit some are more equal than others, which is obviously how it should be, the succubus unshackled the fool and they came together. But not in that way, of course. Getting ice cream and living happily ever after, while in no way behaving in a manner that might be viewed as falling afoul of YouTube's community guidelines, which YouTube would never arbitrarily impose based on the amount of revenue one generates. The end. In closing, I want to make it clear that I am not advocating for censorship of any sort of the aforementioned works. My only real hope with this video, non-existent though it may be, is that YouTube will answer the following 3 questions. First, per your community guidelines, your policies, quote, apply to all types of content on our platform, end quote. With this in mind, why does it seem that your content restrictions only impact smaller creators who are less capable, if not completely incapable, of adequately challenging the verdict or impacting your bottom line by removing their content? For example, why are the multiple videos I cited earlier, to say nothing of the myriad others unmentioned, able to be seen by anyone without restriction? Second, if the answer to your first question is that you have determined that these other works are art, why is their art allowed to be freely viewed while mine is not? Is it because their art inherently has more value than mine, even though your community guidelines say nothing about factoring in the quality or inherent value of a work as a determining factor? And lastly, if, on the other hand, your answer to the first question is that my art has somehow violated your community guidelines to a more egregious extent than any of the aforementioned works, can you please provide specifics? For example, I cited one popular video where a performer not only gives Satan a lap dance, but also licks Satan's neck in a clearly provocative fashion. My video, on the other hand, literally does not show sexual activity, And the only part which even comes close to doing so is a segment where one character licks the other's face, a gesture obviously meant to be satirical in nature, as was the entire video, which I suppose I have to explain, although I don't like to explain things because I don't want to talk down to people. If the audio itself is a problem, I have likewise provided examples where coital sounds, in some cases real, occur, and yet those videos are freely available. So, what gives, YouTube? In closing, thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Good night.